just noticed you there. Delegate LeMunyon has been great working across the aisle. He has supported the telephone gouging. He testified powerfully for that. He was in a leadership role, the lead co-patron on the anti-shackling women in labor that go to the, in prison, go to the hospital, they're shackled during labor. Got that stopped, and he's one of the good guys. So if you take a few words, we'd like to hear from you. You represent Chantilly?
I represent Chantilly. In fact, I'm a little dressed down and very late today because I was at the Chantilly Little League opening day with about 700 baseball players. So appreciate your accommodating me here at the end. And it looks like, as you mentioned, I'm a Republican here again this year, the only one. That's okay. I appreciate the advice I get during the session from John and Bob and others. Bob is a valued constituent sitting here in the front row with his camera rolling. And we agree on some things, don't agree on some things, which I guess puts you in the same category as my wife. So, rather than talk about some places where we've been this session, you've heard about that, I just want to give you one thing in the interest of time of where we might go, and both John and Bob have heard this little talk before, but in my view, the biggest opportunity we have and the biggest and the best social program we have in Virginia and America is job creation. And in my view, the biggest obstacle we have that in Virginia is an antiquated and just bizarre tax code that's just been accumulating different stuff over the course of decades. And I won't go into the litany of issues, but I'll just touch on a few. We have a TOPS tax rate. For those of you who actually do your own taxes, not many people do anymore. The top tax rate kicks in at $17,000 of taxable income in Virginia. We tax food at 2%. That goes to the localities, of course. We have what's known as the B-poll tax, which is a business tax that goes to localities. It's based on revenue, not profitability. So you can be going out of business, laying people off, and still have to pay that tax. In case you didn't know, it was started to fund the War of 1812, which you may have heard ended. The tax is still around. So and it's a local tax. Some localities derive most of their local revenue from that. Other localities don't have that tax at all. On the corporate side, we have about 80 or 90,000 corporate taxpayers in Virginia. Fewer than 1,000, about 2%, pay more than half the tax collected by the state. Most of those corporate taxpayers probably pay more for accountants, record keeping, and lawyers in terms of the total check they pay to them than they pay to the state. So that's not an efficient tax system, that's a public nuisance. So I would just offer for your consideration going forward, without providing you with taking the time here to give you all the details. I think there's a possibility for people who are interested in social justice. There's possibilities for people who are members of chambers of commerce. There are possibilities for people who are conservative free marketeers to all come to some agreement on how our tax code needs to change in Virginia for a number of reasons that people can agree on. It's a complicated issue. That's why it hasn't happened yet. But if you all might consider being part of the critical mass needed to get the political will to make that change, I think it would be all good. Thanks for including me today.
I think the tax issue is very important because I've read that 2/3 of the corporations in Virginia don't pay any taxes, so maybe it's time that would be looked at. So anyway, esteemed and wonderful audience, we will be in touch. We do not have a priority agenda for 2016 yet because we usually do not issue that until after we actually have met with legislators and got them to agree to patron. My highest hope for this morning was that we would have a spirited question and answer session, but we ran out of time. I think that was appropriate because we had heard such amazing and wonderful messages from our legislators, and they really filled in the blanks for us. I would just like to say to the audience, Thank you for being a voice for the voiceless. I would like to say the same to the legislators. Thank you for your fighting, and those of you who work across the aisle to get things done. That's a great thing. Give them a round of applause. And for all of you, both at the table and in the audience, be sure to work for the changes that you want to see. And thank you for coming out this morning and enjoy the beautiful weather. And thank you, Ray, for your very wonderful testimony. Thank you.
Oh, hey, Jim, how you doing?